I was trying to see if there's a plug.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our March 7th meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We will begin, as is customary, with a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all for being here. As you may see on the agenda, we have an election board. We'll take a brief recess for an election board meeting at about 10 o'clock. And but if we will entertain any public comment now that is other than regarding the issue of the election board, because they'll have their own public comment under their part of the meeting. So does anyone want to? Yes.
Yeah, I'm John Rose from Swatara Township. I understand that there'll be a presentation in regard to the replacement for the drop-off box. Will there be an opportunity for comment after the presentation?
Yes. Or before, and that's up to the chairman.
All right.
Okay. Like we did.
Okay. Anything else? Great. We'll look for approval of our minutes of the February 15th meeting and also two workshops that we held February 21st and 28th.
Presented.
We have a motion?
Are you on the minutes?
Yes.
Second, sorry, I got distracted.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Any deletions or additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved. Mrs. Nguyen, our treasurer.
Okay, we had receipts on March the 5th and 6th of $976,742.28. Brought us to a total cash of $3,471,139.91. Our expenditures were $1,548,707.13. Our undistributed tax lien is $81,181.33, leaving us a balance of $1,841,251.45.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we approve Mrs. Nguyen's report. Any comments or questions regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same signs, so ordered. Thank you, Seth. Good morning. You may introduce yourself and then proceed.
Chelsea Mably, Director of Human Resources. Under resignations and terminations, Lisa Walmer, Aging Care Manager 2 at Area Agency on Aging, resignation effective March 8th. Kristen Williams, Caseworker 2 and Children and Youth, termination effective February 23rd, with the last working day being February 7th. Dylan Laraba, Caseworker 1 and Children and Youth, resignation effective March 13th. Colby Johnson, full-time telecommunicator, Department of Emergency Services, resignation effective March 14th. Melissa Lawson, full-time telecommunicator, Department of Emergency Services, resignation effective March 16th. Kimberly Masser, programmer analyst, Information Technology Services, resignation effective March 15th. Jeremiah Cruz, full-time correctional officer at the jail, removal/term, no call, no show, effective February 12th. Nicole Montilla, full-time correctional officer at the jail, resignation effective February 29th. Nico Jacoby, full-time correctional officer at the jail, resignation effective February 24th. Anthony Giuliani, law clerk in courts, resignation effective March 8th. Braulio Garcia Rivera, operations specialist and information technology services, resignation effective February 23rd. Tylisha Irizarry, District Justice Office Support 1 and MDJ Figueroa's office, resignation effective March 8th. Sandy Rudiger, Caseworker two at MHIDEI, resignation effective February 26th, with the last working day being February 16th. Renee Green, full-time therapy aide at the Renova Center, resignation effective March 3rd, with the last working day being March 1st. Jessica Reyes, full-time deputy sheriff in the sheriff's office, resignation effective March 15th. And Suzanne Hauser, deputy of voter registration, resignation effective May 3rd.
Make a motion to approve those resignations and terminations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve those transactions. Any questions regarding any of those? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under changes of status transfers and promotions, I have a motion to approve Sean Drasher, Chief of Voter Registration, request to have the current full-time employees within the voter registration office work up to a maximum of 15 additional hours per week, with the first additional 5 hours paid at straight pay and any hours worked over 40 to be paid overtime pay, effective March 25th, 2024 through May 3rd, 2024.
Make a motion to approve Sean Blasher's request.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Director Brasher's request. Any questions? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Jeremy O'Malley, promotion from caseworker one in children and youth to caseworker two in children and youth at the rate of $1,661.28 biweekly, effective March 17th. Sarah Soto, transfer from District Justice Office Manager at MDJ Figueroa's to Secretary C in the District Attorney's Office at the rate of $1,248.91 biweekly, effective April 1st. Kelsey Sanborn, promotion from caseworker one at MHIDEI to caseworker two at the rate of $1,661.28 biweekly, effective March 18th. Peter Schanfelder, promotion from full-time direct support supervisor at the Renova Center to full-time program coordinator at the rate of $2,086.81 biweekly, effective March 18th.
Make a motion to approve those changes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Under other transactions, children and youth would like to hire Abigail Greenewalt as a caseworker one at the rate of $1,562.16 biweekly, effective March 11th. Prothonotary Clerk of Courts would like to hire Kathleen Green as a general clerk C at the rate of $1,117.67 biweekly, effective March 11th. Lebanon County Correctional Facility would like to hire Tammy Lick as office support one at the rate of $982.34 biweekly, effective March 11th. Lebanon County Correctional Facility would like to hire Gina Gonzalez as work release assistant / assistant counselor at the rate of $1,516.04 biweekly, effective March 11th. Department of Emergency Services would like to hire the following two operations technicians, both at the rate of $13.05 per hour, both effective March 11th, and that is Jerry J. Fish Jr. and Bradley Deckert. Department of Emergency Services would like to hire the following two full-time telecommunicators, both at the rate of $19.28 per hour, both effective March 18th, and that is Rema Minnick and Zachary Faust. President Judge Tillwalk would like to hire Jonathan Sosa Gutierrez as a probation officer one / interpreter at the rate of $1,866.86 biweekly, with $1,500 annual interpreter stipend.
How much?
$1,500
Okay, thank you.
annual interpreter stipend, effective March 25th. And the sheriff would like to hire Daybell Andahar as a full-time deputy sheriff at the rate of $19.94 per hour, effective March 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve the other transactions as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I understand there's an interpreter being hired.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
there's an interpreter. There's a bilingual person being hired and there's a stipend for him to do interpretation. It's $1,500 per year. It's added to his salary, but it's not a specific interpreter. Is that HR correct?
Correct, and that's in probation.
No, yeah.
Service probation.
Anything else? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. So moved.
Salary Board, motion to approve all transactions previously read, plus the following: Michelle Embreeze, interpreter stipend, domestic relations, $1,500 annually, effective February 26, 2024. And Louis Oliveri, longevity payment, full-time correctional officer at the jail, a one-time 15-year longevity payment of $2,000 effective April 5th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve those salary board transactions. Any questions? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those same signs, so ordered. Thank you. Okay. A little ahead of schedule, but if the folks from the Red Cross are here, we'll be happy to have you come to the microphone and present. If you wouldn't mind, just introduce yourselves and then whoever's going to present, or if both are, just go ahead and do it.
Good morning. My name is Mark Hipple. I'm a board member with the American Red Cross for the Greater Capital Region.
Good morning. I'm Jason Bug, a board member with the Red Cross. First, I want to thank you for allowing us to speak with you for a few minutes and for recognizing Red Cross Month. Mark is going to go into some opportunities that we see in Lebanon County, but I'm going to go over some recent activity that we've had in Lebanon County. First of all, I just wanted to make you aware that as of January 1st, our Central PA chapter has expanded to 11 counties. So we've added Center, Juniata, and Mifflin to our footprint. In recent months, we've had 8 disaster event responses supporting 33 folks. Those are primarily home fires. We've had 7 disaster health and mental health services. We've had 114 service to armed forces cases. Those are primarily relaying messages to deployed troops. We've served 37 people through the home fire campaign, Sound the Alarm. We had a Sound the Alarm campaign in Lebanon City about a year ago. 493 units of blood have been collected at 22 blood drives. And we have a total of 40 volunteers supporting our mission in Lebanon.
So as Jason mentioned, we see great opportunity for potential proactivity in the county. And I'd just like to highlight a few of those items that we've identified that could be good opportunities. The first is that we're expanding the free offering of youth and community preparedness. So this is more, what do we do in advance of the disaster as opposed to reacting to a disaster? How can we be prepared? Do we have our families prepared? Do they know where to go? Do they know who to call? Those are free services that we offer to help the community as well as the youth to be prepared and to get organized in advance of a disaster. We also have free smoke alarm installations. As Jason mentioned, we had a recent Sound the Alarm event that went to a local neighborhood, but individuals in the community can call the American Red Cross and ask for smoke alarms if theirs are not functioning or if they don't have sufficient amounts. Those can be one of the #1 opportunities that we can have to prevent those fire disasters that we experienced in the county.
Would you like to give a phone number to call since you said they can call?
I wish I knew that off the top of my head, Commissioner, but
I was trying to help.
but it's easily Googleable, I should say, right? So easily to find on the web,
Sure.
search for the number that they can call. Another opportunity is for building local volunteer base, as we know that the disasters are becoming more frequent and more regular, unfortunately. So the more volunteers we have on the ground in the county, the faster we can respond, the more effective and more efficiently we can respond to those disasters. Another area would be to increase the opportunity to partner and enter into agreements with other community organizations for shelter. When those disasters strike, when they're significant, the American Red Cross can get in and we can be here very quickly, but we need to rely on the community to engage in those shelter agreements so that we can put those affected people into temporary housing to get them fed, give them a little bit of a relief in a time of stress and disaster. And finally, we have the VA here in our county. And as Jason mentioned, we have a specific committee on our board that's dedicated, SAF, to serving veterans. We do a lot of things around the holidays, issuing cards. We make connections, have opportunities to get service members back to their families in times of disaster, death, and otherwise. Have been some great stories, success stories of us helping there as well. And finally, I think it would go without saying, but the shortage of blood that we're experiencing in the country, opportunities for blood drives in the community are gratefully appreciated by the American Red Cross. And in this time of shortage, it would be very helpful if we could partner with any organization in the county to run those drives. So thank you again for your time. Thank you again for the opportunity. Happy to answer any questions and have any information that we can provide.
And thank you for your volunteerism. That's vital to the whole picture. We do have a proclamation to adopt. I'd like to accept a motion to do that. I'll move.
Second,
Did you have something?
well, it doesn't pertain to this motion. I can wait.
Yeah, motion and a second. Any questions? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved. It's been adopted. And Jamie, would you mind reading?
Sure. American Red Cross Month for 2024. During American Red Cross Month in March, we recognize the compassion of people in Lebanon County and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. This generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances the humanitarian legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering. Today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they step up through the American Red Cross Central Pennsylvania chapter to provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need. Through their voluntary and selfless contributions, they make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers through the unique challenges of service, or saving lives with first aid, CPR, and other skills. In 2023, the Central Pennsylvania chapter of the Red Cross helped more than 1,000 people after home fires, installed 1,800 free smoke alarms for neighbors in need, taught more than 1,300 students about preparing for emergencies, hosted nearly 800 blood drives, and collected over 21,000 units of blood, and provided more than 1,700 services to veterans, military members, and their families. We hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need. And we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community. Now, therefore, that we, the Lebanon County Commissioners, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the laws of Lebanon County and Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Red Cross Month. We encourage all citizens of Lebanon County to reach out and support its humanitarian mission.
Thank you. So it's been adopted and we appreciate your time here, and Joel had a
Yes, I was just curious. Would you happen to know, maybe I should know and I just don't, but Paul and Mary Ann Levan were like Lebanon County Red Cross, anything, they were here for us. Did somebody replace them or they still doing it? I mean, I know it seems like maybe age has caught up with all of us, but
I believe they retired after 40 years or so
Yeah.
of service. I recall there was a small gathering to honor them.
yes.
I mean, as Mark mentioned, we're always looking for new volunteers. I think the best place for folks to go is redcross.org.
Okay.
And then they can connect with the Central Pennsylvania chapter and learn more about volunteering, request free smoke alarms. So redcross.org is probably the best
Okay.
first stop for folks to connect with our services and support.
All right. So you're looking for those leaders.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Right, folks, thank you. If there's nothing else, so we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
You want to present both?
They have.
You got it. Okay,
Would you mind a quick photo?
We can do that.
sure.
Yes. I think they're going that way, Joel.
Oops. Everything's different. That's okay.
Oh,
That's good. There we go.
Thank you for the option. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Thanks. Thank you.
Email that to Lauren.
Yes, please.
I think I have all of them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Transit is here tomorrow, so we can move them up. They're away.
Yep.
So.
we do have a seat available up here, I think. Is that correct? Seat?
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Good morning. we're going a little out of order because we have to wait till 10 o'clock for the election board meeting. So we're getting some folks through a little early. So thank you for being here. And who's going to tee it up? Michael?
Guess I'm teeing it up. Mike Ritter, Marketing and Outreach Coordinator with Lebanon Transit.
Give him the microphone. There's so many people so they can hear. There you go. It's on.
Oh, it's on?
Yeah.
Hold on. Try them.
Mike Ritter, Marketing and Outreach Coordinator with Lebanon Transit.
Terry Gerentano, Director for Lebanon Transit.
Angela Luciani, Finance Officer.
Okay, so you may proceed with however, whatever you have.
Well, I'll just thank the commissioners for your proclamation today to honor March 18th, this Transit Worker Appreciation Day. That's a day that's honored nationally every year on March 18th. Apparently, March 18th is the day that public transit started officially, like back in the 1600s in Europe. And to this day, we sort of celebrate and honor that. So we appreciate just that folks bringing awareness to this day in the public and helping us thank the transit workers across Lebanon County. Not just the bus drivers, but with the van drivers, we have mechanics, we have ticket sellers and receptionists and front office people, and a lot of things go into
Board
keeping
members?
the buses, board members, advisory committee members. So many people are involved with making sure that the transit system locally runs smoothly and effectively and helps get people to where they need to go. So we just thank you for having the opportunity to bring some awareness to that today. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything, Terry.
I want to thank Mike for being the liaison for the commissioners on our board. It's great. We appreciate having you at our monthly meetings and giving us updates on what's happening in the county. So we appreciate that. And we appreciate everything you do for Lebanon Transit, very much so. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Honor to serve. And those board meetings, you have a great board. They're very engaged.
Yes.
Terry, maybe you want to comment too. I think one thing that impressed me in the sit on boards was that how many people that, I mean, many of us take those buses for granted that we see them running day and night. But how many people that use our transit services, that's their only mode? What was that the percentage?
Of people that,
That it's their only.
when we had that survey done a while ago, it was, I think, was it 69%, 70%
Yeah.
that you're right, we are their only transportation.
Yeah.
And we appreciate them using the bus.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a proclamation to adopt, so I'll accept a motion to do so.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt this proclamation recognizing Transit Worker Appreciation Day. And Jamie, if you wouldn't mind.
Whereas the County of Lebanon recognizes the important role that all transit workers play in connecting communities within Lebanon County to health services, educational institutions, employment, special events, and other amenities. Whereas Lebanon Transit has many facets that keep the operation running smoothly. Beyond the bus and van operators, there are many behind the scenes employees who perform vehicle maintenance, keep the vehicles clean, answer phones, pay the bills, and much more. Whereas all of these employees and the work they do are priceless to the residents that depend upon these services, we are appreciative of their commitment to our region, the long hours that are put in, and the care and concern those in the public eye demonstrate. Whereas public transit benefits us all in Lebanon County by reducing traffic and parking congestion, improving air quality, and making our community more equitable and accessible to all. And whereas public transit is essential to a growing region, and as Lebanon County continues to expand, we rely more and more on these services. We are thankful for the quality of service provided and will continue to fight for expanded service in the future. Whereas we commend and thank all of our transit workers for the job they do to keep our region moving. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lebanon County Board of Commissioners proclaim March 18, 2024 as Transit Workers Appreciation Day in Lebanon County and encourage members of the public to thank Lebanon transit workers for providing this essential service.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right. And if there's nothing else, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael. I just want to Should get that. What would you like to do? There's a couple of things.
You do a couple of things, or you could probably get into it if you want to.
Wait till 10 o'clock. It's been advertised.
Outside there,
9:30.
so.
Okay,
you could move to it.
okay. I'm a little confused where it's at 10 o'clock on the agenda.
Oh, we have it in here.
Perfect. All right, then we'll move on to, we're gonna recess, the regular meeting, in time for the election board meeting, which will be, chaired by Commissioner Mike Good.
Call the Lebanon County Election Board to order. And our first item of business is to allow for public comment, but as the gentleman questioned earlier, and as we did last month, as many of you should know, many of you were here last month, that our Director of Elections, Mr. Drasher, is going to be making a final proposal on the alternative method we devised to replace the concept of a drop box. And will allow for public comment now, but maybe you want to reserve those comments till after you hear the presentation. Is there anyone who'd like to make a comment now? Yes, sir.
Hello, Michael Schroeder, South Danville Township, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Lebanon County branch of the NAACP. First, I want to express our extreme disappointment in the vote a couple months ago to get rid of the drop box. It seems to us that it feeds into the big lie of a stolen election, that it undermines public confidence in Lebanon County elections. It seems also that it throws John Drasher and his team under the bus. And it seems a solution in search of a problem. So what we've asked is for a full-throated endorsement of the integrity of Lebanon County elections by the Lebanon County Commissioners and in John Drasher and his team, that you have full faith and confidence that they can run an election fairly, and that you have full faith in the integrity of Lebanon County elections. Regarding the satellite office, it seems to us, I know you're going to be a presentation on it, it seems to be an acceptable alternative if it is set up for the amount of time that the drop box is there. Because as you know, we no longer have election day. We have an election period. So we would further encourage the commissioners to change the language on the website, on the ballots, and everywhere else to get rid of the words election day, replace them with in-person voting day, and instead have election period, because people vote over a period of 3 to 4 weeks. Thank you.
Anyone else? Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
My name is Amy Whitestrom. I'm the Executive Director of the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania. It's good to see some of you again. We were here a couple weeks ago. We are part of a powerful, nationwide, nonpartisan organization. We have a national office in Washington, D.C. We've got 50 state leagues, and we've got hundreds of leagues across the country. The League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania, I'm looking at my own stats, has 30 leagues and nearly 10,000 supporters statewide. So I am here speaking on behalf of our statewide organization and our members and supporters across the state, but also the dozens of members and supporters we have here in Lebanon County. It is imperative that we have accessible and reliable voting options for all citizens. Our message is clear. Lebanon County must adopt and implement an alternative to the ballot drop box removed on February 15th. The county must ensure accessibility through expanded hours and consideration for those with disabilities ahead of the April 23rd primary. Expanded hours should include weekends, particularly during the 2 weekends preceding the election, to accommodate voters with traditional work schedules who have a hard time making it to the polls and ensure equitable access to the voting process. Failure to implement an alternative, and I agree this is an acceptable alternative, assuming these features, or to reinstate the drop box will result in undue hardship for Lebanon County voters. Without accessible options, individuals may face wait times of up to 45 minutes, disproportionately affecting those with disabilities, demanding work commitments. Our poll workers, who often can't vote in person on election day because they are supporting the election process in other polling places, or those seeking to submit their ballots in the days leading up to the election. We also know that the arrival of mail ballots to voters will be delayed due to petition challenges and these voters need a reliable and accessible way of returning their ballots. I would like to applaud Commissioner Kuhn, who on February 15th publicly stated that the proposed alternative is superior to the drop box, which underscores the need for action. I am here to hold Commissioner Kuhn to his word and to urge all three commissioners to take action. Approve an alternative plan so voters have a reliable and accessible option to make their voices heard. It's time to prioritize voter accessibility and expand opportunities for citizens to fulfill their civic duty. Let's ensure every voice is heard by providing a reliable and accessible drop-off site for mail-in or absentee ballots. Democracy thrives when every citizen can participate fully in the democratic process. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kadita Penner. I'm the founding CEO of the New Pennsylvania Project. We're a voting rights organization statewide. We operate in Lebanon County and all throughout the capital region as well. As a voting rights organization, we have registered more than 35,000 Pennsylvanians that cast ballots here in the Commonwealth, and we'll register another 60,000 this year. Many of those here in the capital region in Lebanon County. I'm here today to kind of center us in an anniversary today, being March 7th, the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And knowing that so many have fought and died for the right to vote and access to the ballot. Today being one of those days, John Lewis crossed the bridge and almost lost his life in order for folks to be able to have access to the ballot and cast votes. And we believe as an organization that everyone who is a citizen should have access to the ballot. And that includes those with disabilities who will be disenfranchised potentially by not having more access to drop boxes. We know in the last previous elections, Dropbox use has gone up, and it is beloved by those who use it, particularly amongst those who are working 2 and 3 shift jobs and don't have access to get to the polls on a Tuesday in November or to the polls on April 23rd. So we ask that you really consider expanding access to the ballot so that all can be part of this democracy, take action in this democracy, and feel as though their voices are heard. We don't make it very easy for Pennsylvanians to vote. There's other states that do a much better job. And I think that we can come into the future here as the Commonwealth and here in the County of Lebanon as well, and provide better access to the ballot. And so I just remind us all that on this day, not that long ago, many had, fought and died for this right. And as an organization that centers communities of color, immigrant communities, and the youth 30 and under, we really ask that you consider expanding access to the ballot, maybe more, less barriers, more access. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm probably going to repeat what some other people have said. To begin with, I want to thank the commissioners for seriously looking at an alternative to the Dropbox. If you do go ahead and pass that expanded version, I'd be very happy if you do that. But I also want to say it was probably not necessary. Go ahead. But I think you've all said that our elections here are safe and secure. They were safe and secure when the Dropbox was there. They'll be safe and secure if you pass this new proposal. What bothered me most about this whole incident was, again, that somehow implying that the Dropbox could lead to fraud was kind of harkening back to the big lie that the 2020 election was rigged and that Trump actually won. And numerous lawsuits, investigations, panels, and everything have shown that that is not true. And I think you all know that that is not true. But implying that this is somehow could be fraud is just wrong. I would want to ask, maybe you could get Sean to stand up at some point, or somebody from voter registration, to explain all the steps that are taken to make sure our elections are fair and secure. Nobody's going to be able to go and put 15 ballots into the Dropbox and have them counted as individual votes. There are many, many steps to ensure that things are fair. And so I would really like the commissioners to stand up, tell all the residents of Lebanon County that our elections are fair and secure, and they always have been. Oh, thanks. That's it.
I just wanted the pet stealing South Londonderry Township, Lebanon County. I just wanted to piggyback on what Dr. Schroeder and Monica and what's been said. It's just at the last meeting, we talked about a public statement, the commissioners making a public statement that our elections are fair and safe and secure. I haven't seen that yet, and I think that's really important because my main disappointment in this whole thing, I'm a retired special ed teacher, so the accessibility component, thumbs up, that's good, that's really good, but my concern too has been the underlying message that somehow our election process is not safe and secure. I would like to see a public statement go out saying that I just feel very strongly it's your job to be promoting the safe and secure voting process that we have. So I'd like to see a public statement, and I'd like to hear a response to that. Yes, we're going to do that, or if you're going to say no, but that's all. Thank you.
William Doherty, South Danville Township. I don't believe the previous two speakers announced their names and if they're Lebanon County residents or not, but I don't think it's necessary to, excuse me.
Yeah, just wanted to give my name.
All right, well, you're supposed to do that when you start. I don't believe that it's necessary for the commissioners to say if the elections are free and fair. I'll cite a recent Heartland Institute Rasmussen report survey just completed in February 2024. And two of the findings are that 17% of the mail-in voters admitted to voting in a state that they were no longer a permanent resident. Another finding is that 21% of mail-in voters admitted they filled out a ballot for another person or family member. So there are many that if you look for them or you read, that you will find there are issues with the mail-in ballots. So I would just say that we should move on to the what Sean is going to present.
I dropped to make sure everybody gets a chance. You want to state your name for the record? You want, is that what you want to do?
Yes. My name is Monica Von Dovenek. I live in South Londonderry Township.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment now?
Hi, my name is Kevin Miller, Anvil Township. I'd like to open on behalf of Teresa Wickard from South Lebanon, who's unable to attend today. Teresa, and I have the documentation here, copies for the commissioners if they'd like it. Teresa recently had to move her mother to Stone Ridge in Myerstown. And as part of that, she wanted to make sure that her mother's voter registration was properly updated. So she filled out the necessary paperwork with her mother, had her mother sign it, brought it up here to the voter office. And at that time, one of the ladies, and I want to avoid a lot of names here if I could, but one of the ladies in the office told her that the address on the change of address form was incorrect. That lady in the office whited out the signed paper and corrected the address, which I have a bit of an issue with. She then changed the address. That address happens to be a private residence. It's a neighboring property to Stone Ridge. It is not part of Stone Ridge. When we realized what was going on, he was able to reach out to someone that had a copy of the voter rolls, and we found that there were 10 people that were listed at that address that were primarily Stone Ridge residents that had apartment numbers, which were their room numbers. She went back and forth in order to get this fixed. And about 2 weeks ago, I went and looked. I had gotten a recent copy of the voter rolls. We went and looked, and now there is nobody at that private residence. The two people who lived at that residence have now been updated in the voter rolls and are now showing as residents of Stone Ridge. So they won't even get their information. So when we talk about the election office, we want to have this, the commissioners speak up in favor of the election office and saying how things are right. I'm not saying this is intentional, but I'm saying that things happen. And, even these people make a mistake, and now we want to assume that everybody else going to the Dropbox is going to be making that. So if the commissioners would like information, I have copies of several documents showing those people being at the wrong address, not at the address from a year ago when it was only the two people and whatnot. But as for myself, I would just like to point out, we keep hearing about, when I was here a month ago, people kept talking about how we need to make this easy. And I said, this is not about being easy. There's no requirement for the state to make anything easy for you. Our First Amendment, or not the First Amendment, I'm sorry, in the Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1 is our Bill of Rights. Section 5 says elections shall be free and equal. And it goes on to say no power, civil or military, shall at any time infringe or prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. And I do want to say that I support that. Nobody should be kept from voting. But likewise, this is not about making things easy. That being said, I went and took the time to look at all 60 precincts, the number of registered Republicans, the number of registered Democrats, the total registrations, knowing that there are independents in the middle, the travel time and the travel distance. And I find it interesting that where the drop box is being placed, the Democrat leaning precincts, with the exception of one, Mount Gretna, is within a 2-mile radius. Approximately 60% of Democrats live within a 5-mile radius of the proposed location, but only about 40% of Republicans. So if we're talking about making things easy, and we want to make that our benchmark, we need to look at the people that have travel distances of up to 14 miles in 25 minutes, according to Google Maps, in order to reach this drop box. Now,
There should be that.
well, but I'm just saying.
It's more valid.
Excuse me, this is not a debate here. He has the floor now, so please, everybody else can listen.
But if we're going to make it equal, somebody needs to determine what is easy and what is equal. I would also remind people that Dropbox do not appear anywhere in any of the legal code and are not a requirement or even a suggestion of the state. Well, there is no law against it. I will admit, but we're not required to actually do that. When I was here a month ago, I was talking to someone after the meeting, and they said about how one of their big issues was that people, need access to that because of their work schedules and whatnot. They said to me, well, the Dropbox is actually open till 8 o'clock the night of elections, and they can come drop their ballot at night. And initially I didn't think about it, but after they walked away, I thought, well, if they're saying that they can drop their ballot up to 8 o'clock, most people have to travel farther to get to the drop box than to their own poll. So why not just go to the poll and vote? If that's your main issue, that the drop box is more convenient for most people on election day, your voting poll certainly has to be more convenient location than a drop box. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Dennis Foltz. I'm a resident of Heidelberg Township. And I've been active in local politics for the last number of years, doing door-to-door canvassing of the registered voters in my precincts. And I get to have face-to-face conversations with the actual voters that are our constituents. And I became a candidate for committee on the ballot this year. So I put myself in a position of being in direct communication with a multitude of voters in our precinct. And the overwhelming concerns that they have is responsible government and election integrity. Those two things float to the top. And so responsible government constitutes reasonable budgets and fiscal responsibilities. They all believe you're doing a fairly good job at that. The thing they abhor there is wasteful spending. So having said that, I was told that all these new situations are going to require a lot of investment and possibly tax increases. So I would say the overwhelming majority of the people in my voting district would be opposed to that on the money issue alone. The next thing is election integrity. People get their ballots allegedly by mail. They come to them through the US mail. And they feel safe and secure getting their ballot mailed to them in their own mailbox or their own whatever. But apparently it's not appropriate to put a stamp on it and mail it back. If they trusted the post office to get it there, why not trust it to get it back? And you can do that any hour of the day or night by simply throwing it in a local mailbox as close as you can walk to, or you put it in your own mailbox. So getting the ballots back is simple and easy, really easy. Just put it in the mailbox. Okay. I think it's laudable that these major high horsepower organizations have a few dozen local supporters. I think that's great that they can find a few dozen local people so they could come in here and present their speeches. But I'm talking about a resident living in the precinct, talking face to face with the majority of the electorate and bringing you their truthful opinions. And I'm presenting that to you because you need to hear what your constituents are wanting and feeling. Thank you.
Yes.
Sure.
Commissioners Phillips, Hughen and Litz, Lebanon County and other supporters.
Would you introduce yourself?
My name is Duncan McLean and I live in South Lebanon Township. So I'm a fellow citizen like you. I just met Dennis, already good friends here. I do volunteer for several of the civic groups that are represented here, but I'm speaking today only on my own behalf. In my public comments on February 15th, I asked you to disclose any evidence of fraud in Lebanon County. And you did cite anecdotally only a few persons who had reported delivering ballots for their family members. At that time, we also agreed that that was only a minor technical peccadillo, easily remedied by appointing a delegate, such as what I did for my own wife, who has a mobility problem. We're getting some more information, and I certainly urge the gentleman to submit your data or your observations or your documentation to the commission and to Director Drasher. And I assume that that needs to be investigated. Was that, a malicious act, or was that just an error, or somebody's confused? Like on February 15th, we also talked about how residents of long-term care facilities are especially vulnerable because they can't advocate for themselves. And we had a nice conversation about how to address that. I would urge folks to understand that there's two different issues here, or at least several different issues here. One is what might be called ballot stuffing. Another would be called ballot harvesting, such as from long-term care facilities. And the third issue would be the drop box itself. I don't think those should be necessarily conflated. On February 15th, I asked you to provide a full-throated affirmation of the integrity of our election system. And I also asked you to thank the many volunteers and staff who run our elections so well, and you did so. I didn't see a proclamation, but you did make a public statement, I believe, each of you. However, it would be appropriate to do so again today to simply confirm that. So I'm here today because on February 15th, you then promised to give us a ballot delivery option that is at least as good and ideally, to quote you, better than the current drop box. And in this important presidential election year, I want to follow through to encourage you to fulfill that promise for a drive-up ballot drop box. I think I'd like to just respond to a couple of the issues raised by my fellow Lebanon Countyans. Now, I don't want to get into a tug of war here, but just simply to clarify a couple of things. I would invite Rasmussen to do a survey of Lebanon County. And what I'm getting at is that it's one thing nationally and, you know, other jurisdictions, Montgomery County or California or this or that, what's going on there. I believe we're in Lebanon, and Lebanon is a different thing. That's what you're responsible for, and Director Drasher is responsible for. So data, you know, from other places is interesting, but that shouldn't necessarily be determinative. I was very interested in the calculation of the location of the various registered voters to the drop box. And I'm thinking, just off the top of my head, that if there are plenty of registered, say, Republicans, say in North Lebanon, a solution would be to actually add a drop box closer to them so that they have equal, to use that term, access to the ballot. To also answer the question about, you know, what's the big deal on election day? Well, there are some workers who work multiple shifts, and, you know, do you want to really disenfranchise them? So that's, I think, part of the rationale of having an election season as opposed to just an election day. And of course, the drop box or multiple drop boxes would accommodate that. Lastly, relating to the public, to the United States Postal Service, I have had the experience of mailing a check to one of my creditors, and it took a month for that check to get there, and they almost, you know, sent me to collections. So, you know, when it comes to my vote, I want to make sure that it gets to where it needs to go. And I trust the Postal Service with just about everything, but not this one, especially when the clock is ticking and there's time frames. And if it arrives 1 minute past the thing, my vote doesn't count. So here are some other ideas to consider, and I'll try to be brief here. If you do have the proposed drop-off location, and the staff at that drop-off remind voters to sign and date the outer envelope and inquire if the voter remembered to use the secret envelope properly. Además, pueden contratar con asistentes bilingües para ayudar a votantes hispanos. What I just said was, can you hire bilingual staff in the election office to help Hispanic voters? Can you give us expanded hours, say evenings or weekends, for the benefit of the hardworking citizens who can't wait in lines during weekday shifts? Can you publicize through newspapers, your website, social media, all the new options that we're talking about? I want to make one more point here. Last time, one of you claimed that your job is not to make voting easy. That's true. For serious citizens like us here, voting never will be easy. But with all due respect, let's be clear, in our democracy, elected commissioners work for us. We don't work for you. We get to tell you what your job is. And we here today, or many of us, are telling you that we want casting ballots to be convenient, or at least not inconvenient. And we're telling you with Lincoln that your job is to preserve our government of the people, by the people, for the people, and like Lincoln, really mean it when it comes to elections and casting our ballots. So thank you for inviting us here today. We are eager to look at your proposal for a new and improved ballot drop-off option. Thank you.
At this time, if not, we'll entertain Mr. Thrasher, move on to the agenda and maybe go through your items. And what I'd like to suggest, again, is that we allow another time after he makes his presentation, but I can't hear you.
We can't hear.
Maybe Sean, what you should do is go through the entire list, because the last item, the update that we had been talking about could cause some delays that are beyond our control and every county's control right now, statewide issues. So anyway, let's give Sean the floor, make his full presentation, and if you don't mind, then Commissioner, we'll come back to first item to consider action then, and then any additional comment.
To start with the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay. So jumping right into the actual paper ballot that is being prepared right now, Lebanon County was ahead of schedule. We have it in the final form that we can possibly have it at this point. But at the state level, there are three court cases filed, one still outstanding in the US Senate. So even though we are ready to go, we cannot mail or approve the ballot until the state the courts resolve those cases. So there is one more case filed yet for Friday, and we have already been notified through channels that we are expecting an appeal with the Supreme Court, pushing on one of those cases, pushing back ballot approval weeks. So we are going to be done now with LNA testing and ready to mail out ballots starting in a few days.
Excuse me, LNA.
Logic and accuracy testing of our machines and ballots. We were going to be wrapping that up this afternoon on our schedule, on the county schedule, but we have not even been able to start that because of the outstanding court cases. That means that ballots will not be mailed out for any county and state until the very end of this month. That puts us way behind schedule, but there's absolutely nothing we can do. Everything is locked and loaded. We're all in the same boat. That Supreme Court case is killing us. So that said, the whole state is in the same boat. We just received warning again from the Department of State warning us that while it'll be very tempting to move forward because we're ready, that please do not do so, because we have a legal obligation to have a fair and accurate ballot, not just a timely ballot. So with that being said, we've rescheduled a logic and accuracy testing for a full week from Monday. I can't remember what that date is, a week from Monday. And that'll take a week, and then ballots will go out after that. So you are pushed way back, folks. I'm sorry. We don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. So I do not have the ballot to hand you today, but I could give you a digital copy if you want to look over. You'll have plenty of time. You'll have plenty of time to review it.
We wanted to announce that today so the public is aware. It's beyond our control, and we're going to do the best we absolutely can. But, again, we can't move out forward till it's, we have the final decisions made. So,
yeah. So if you're in the public and you're waiting for your ballot, please do not melt our phones down. We cannot, we cannot help it. We are like you on standby. We are expecting by Monday to hear the fate of the third case, but again, then there will be an appeal filed after that. So we don't know when that will happen. All right, so that's the big news. We otherwise would be ready to roll, and I'll send you digital copies of the ballot here probably by the end of the day tomorrow, because then we probably will have a pretty good idea of who's been removed, just not if one of them will end up back on. All right, any questions about the ballot? Okay. The general status update, speaking of nursing homes, we had the opportunity to visit Celebration Villa a couple weeks ago, and we did give a presentation there to some residents and to the social director. Talked about some of our concerns, explained what they had to do using an affidavit if they wanted someone else to carry their ballots for them. Explained that there was their right and their right alone to be filling out their own ballot. No one else can be doing it for them remotely. Things like that. It was a very pleasant and easy visit. I'm hoping moving forward that all of them will be that easy. They're a great group of people over there. As of today, we are at 6,200 mail-ins that are processed. We expect a lot more yet. So we are ahead of where we've been the last bunch of elections at this point in the election cycle, but we're still not huge numbers relative to some other counties, but 6,200 is where we are this morning. We are all caught up in the backlog from when my entire office was out with RSV for a few days. That wrecked us. But we are caught up as of today. Yesterday, completely different topic, the poll books were all delivered to the county. They're all down the hall here, locked up and ready to go. We'll be logic and accuracy testing those as well, but we're going to wait for a few weeks to do that till we have some data we can put in the test with. So that's an exciting development for us. And right around the time the logic and accuracy testing is going on, our training kicks off for the poll workers. So the March 25th and 26th, we'll be holding training classes for the poll workers, and then April 1st and 2nd, we'll be holding 2 more training classes. In this training, is pretty repetitive. This will be the first really different training session that we hold for poll workers. We'll be covering all the e-poll book material. So, we hope everyone comes. Sometimes people think they can get away with not showing up, but we warned them they have to be there this time. It's their status. Accepting applications for receptions. It's on our way. Okay, so the drop-off proposal. Good news. It's not a whole lot different than what we presented here before. The basic framework, as is behind Matt, there is still what we are proposing. I have been offered a lot of fantastic ideas from the community and from the building here. Some of the ideas are really great, but there comes a point where we have to have a plan to move forward now. We are running out of time. This thing with the court cases has bought us a couple of weeks, unfortunately, to get this in place. But we do have to just have a plan to get things rolling now. So I've left you a quick write-up here at your seats of what that plan is. There is no new news here. The structure, both Jamie and I discussed, and Steve, maintenance, discussed multiple ways to approach the structure. Jamie had a fantastic idea of using a bus stop type structure because it's clear. Lexan, I like the idea of a shed because then I can shut it at night. If we just want to leave a folding chair or something out there, just little things for convenience. They are similar. Well, the shed's a little bit more expensive for a fully custom built shed delivered on site. It's going to be $2,725. It's a very rudimentary plan.
$2,700?
Yes.
Okay, this, spell that out.
$2,725. The shed, in keeping with the idea of having it very visible, is completely flanked on all sides by windows all the way around. It does have a 3-foot door on the front, and it has an awning that it's not an A-frame, it's a lean-to type shed with an awning that extends out into the parking lot. So it should extend enough that as people are passing ballots, it will keep them out of the rain, which is a big concern of mine. We had that one problem where we had heavy rains a few elections ago leading up to the election, and a lot of the mail-in ballots that came in were waterlogged. So I'm trying to head that off. So it's just an empty shed. There's nothing particularly fancy out there. Our maintenance department indicates that they could set up very quickly running electric power out to that shed if we would like that. Nothing fancy. But that way we could power a separate camera that would be put on the shed. So right now, the best camera view in my opinion, is right behind Commissioner Litz there. We have 3 cameras off the building that all point at the area right where that shed is from slightly different angles. That's fine, but what we're talking about is we can run power out to the drop-off location. Then we can put a camera up under the awning that would be able to look into the cars driving up and then also capture the license plate as they drive away. Now, I am not proposing that we hire somebody to sit and monitor that camera at all times. It's just not practical, but it would at least be taped in the event that there would be a security problem of some sort, which I don't anticipate, but we would at least be able to go back to the tape and have an extra layer of security. Security, to that end, we have a panic button already set up and ready to go in the shed. It's the same one that we have access to in our offices. The sheriff department downstairs have already tested out, says it has the range. So we should be fine with that. So that's set up. Staffing, we would be staffing at 8 hours a day. It'd be the same hours the drop box had formerly been used for, which was the hours of our office, 4:30 to 8:30, except on election day. Staffing, yeah.
No, I'm just looking, maybe you're going where I was wondering, that we would be staffing till the end of the day,
Yes,
the election day, not till 4:30.
yes. So it would be, and on election day, it would follow election day at 8 o'clock, just like the Dropbox. It'd be all the same rules.
My word, or picture's wrong.
For staffing, I've already approached, not all, but I've been able to talk to a handful of other directors in the building to see if there'd be interest in sharing some of their staff to help us with the costs there. There has been some interest. People who either want to get a little break in the spring sunshine, or just probably that's pretty much it. And hopefully they could take their work with them outside so we could double up, make the most out of the time. I don't anticipate that would cover most of the shifts, but it'd at least make a dent into it. And then the remaining shifts, we would treat like poll workers. We would bring in any members of the community. I would reaching out to poll workers to begin with. They would be paid for their time. And we'd have to work out a schedule with the lunches, but that's not in the proposal today. We can work that out. I'm not too worried about that. Inside the shed, we'd use a hard-sided receptacle bolted to the floor. So for safety, that would be where we'd store the ballots throughout the day. Just like the Dropbox used to be, we could do multiple hook pickups throughout the day, probably in the mid-morning and then that evening before we go. And that's probably all we're going to need. As long as we keep up with it, it's not too bad. And we would then bring them in just like we do now, or did now, up into the office and put them in the vault from there. Scheduling, the one question I've had a lot of feedback over and a wide breadth of what the opinions are is when we have this actually set up. I proposed for April 1st. That's a nice round number. It's a Monday morning, and that hits the 3 week period prior to the election where we have our bulk of ballots coming back. That does, the downside of that is then ending up covering the ballot box with staff for 3 weeks. I'm not too terribly worried about that, but that would be the one downside I saw. That would give us full coverage, especially this election cycle where the ballot mailing has been pushed back. That would give us full coverage of when the box would have been out.
I have a question. You mentioned the cost of the shed, but in my notes, there was also a cost for per day staffing.
Yes.
Per day per person.
Yeah, that'd be $120 a day.
$120.
And then we could set it to anything you want. That is what we pay our judge of elections and temporary staff.
You at one point also indicate that the funding for this would be available through.
Oh, yeah, I glossed right by that. I'm so sorry. So looking at our grant money, we could access the grant money from the EIGP grant to cover fully all of these costs. So it would be out of no taxpayer dollars from the county.
We address that.
Mm-hmm.
That's well and good, but at the end of the day, it is still taxpayer money.
Mm-hmm.
And when that money or grant runs out or is not renewed, then it's back on the local taxpayer because the expectation is we're going to continue what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just putting that out there as a realistic part of the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we should spend some time talking about if propose this for final action. One of the key decisions is going to be timing, when it's going to be available, and considering the information you just gave us about delay in scheduling, what would you propose would be the time frame? That should be part of.
He said it.
Yeah. And I have a question, Lee. Would you like to break this up into different? Do you approve the shed? Do you do that, or you want to do one vote? How would you?
I'd like to have a full picture of what we're doing before I vote.
Okay. Okay. So then I propose to hit the full calendar of when the mail-in ballots will be out, and the bulk of ballots coming back the 3rd week prior to the election, and the 2nd week prior to the election. That would lead us right to April 1st, Monday the 1st.
I don't understand that. I'm sorry. I want to be perfectly clear.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, the drop box was out basically the day after they were mailed Because some people get a 1-day turnaround time, and the reality is most people, as soon as it comes, will sit down and vote their ballot. So if we're going to do the same level that was done for the drop box, we should also put our shed and into operation the day after the mail-in ballots are mailed, no matter when they go out, because what you have is uncertainty with anything else. And that way we get the maximum. I know these court cases are beyond our control, but if indeed they're settled Friday and the ballots go out, can we can't approve them till 2 weeks from now? Is that what you're saying? Because that's our next meeting. Can we call a special meeting?
That's a fantastic question. Okay, a couple of, there's a lot there I need to
Yeah,
unpack,
that's
but they're all very good points. So, I'm not being rude, I need my calendar in front of me here, so right now, we would have been doing logic and accuracy testing now. This meeting, we would have been asking you to vote for the ballot. Instead, even if they have the court case decided tomorrow, well, it will be, we might not get the decision tomorrow. The 8th is the 8th. That would be the earliest we'd get that decision is the 11th. And we've been warned that then a Supreme Court appeal will be filed. We don't have a date on that, but the general consensus is that the court has a interest in having it done by the end of next week, the 15th or so. That would have our logic and accuracy testing starting on the 18th. If we use a vendor, so I can't get them in on the weekend, unfortunately. So that would be the 18th, be logic and accuracy. That takes minimum 4 days. That's the 21st. Minimum. It often runs into Friday. I think we'll be done by the 21st though, where I'm pushing them. Then we could drop, if everything goes perfectly, we could conceivably drop mail the 22nd, but let's not say perfect. Let's give me at least a day or so to make sure things come in a business day. So the 25th. So if we start that mail processing, at that point, we could have a special meeting or something, but that would be on the 21st. We're already scheduled for a meeting. So that would time in right when logic and accuracy testing is wrapping up. At that point, I'll know what's going on. I'll know it's fine or not. So we'll just be,
Our next meeting is the 21st. It's already been advertised.
yeah, already have.
We're all set to go.
Yes.
Perfect.
So
So-
it just happens to work out that way for us.
So if they're dropped the 22nd, I would like to see the shed opened on the 23rd, if that's not a weekend.
So the 22nd would be that would be hitting Postal Hub. There'd be no way for them to even be physically delivered before the 25th. Like there'd be no way for someone to get it if we drop on the 22nd. So the 25th would be the earliest postal delivery.
And what is the day of the week, the 25th?
Monday. the
Okay.
25th. And that's why there's a few days.
If
there.
that is the
week.
minimum, then I would like to see it open on the 25th.
25th.
What?
So the 25th, you got it.
Yes. That way it would be equal to what the Dropbox was, and that was the whole premise of making the drive-through equal to or better than what the Dropbox was.
Mhm.
And so that is why I'm requesting that.
I would appreciate that comment, but it was not to replicate everything associated with the Dropbox. Again, I'm listening to all these people in the room and I've received at least 50, maybe closer to 100 different emails and comments on the streets. I'm trying to take all those in and trying to come up with a reasonable compromise. So there's a cost to doing this. And
There's
Mr. Phillips
cost to not
just
doing
put
it.
exactly. There's a cost both ways. So what I'm trying to approach is a reasonable compromise, listening to all those voices, because there are voices that say you shouldn't even have a Dropbox. So trying to come up with a reasonable compromise. So I see no sooner than April 1st is necessary to do that, possibly the 8th. I'm not sure where you fall on that, but.
Well, I've not heard the calculation of either of those as far as $120 a day. But
2520 would be for 21 days for 3 weeks. $2,520. Now that's if they're all volunteer, I say volunteers, public versus election, our employees already. And I would also like to insert that we need to have equal representation at that acceptance point. We need at least one Republican and one Democrat. So there should be no less than 2 people manning it at one time.
May I interject a couple of things that you're
Well, I think that when you go to the polls, you have a minority and majority inspector. And this is essentially their poll to drop off their ballot. So you want at least one Republican and one Democrat. And that way they can see that the ballots are dropped into the locking area all at the same time.
If they walk the 40, we've been told about a 45-minute wait if they go. They have no idea of the folks that are in the office that are taking the ballot, that whether they're Democrat or Republican.
We have a bipartisan team in the office.
I didn't know we hired that.
I'm not allowed to ask. This is a trap. This is an HR trap.
Can I? No, it's not. May I make three comments? First, with regard to the date, there is lead time on the building. It's not built. So we're waiting for today in order to give a go-ahead on a building, for one. Number two, if and when you consider this, I believe one motion is preferable, just the proposal as presented, or with changes, you can adopt the proposal and move forward. Thirdly, I guess I was going to say similar things to what Commissioner Phillips said, is that the office is staffed. I mean, I don't know who is registered how in the office of elections. So those same people are going to be in and out of manning the facility outside, and it wouldn't be any different. Again, Commissioner Kuhn, the last meeting said this is an extension of the office. So being an extension of the office, these are either poll workers, county employees, whatever, and I don't believe anyway that partisan is part of it. It's just collecting the ballot, just as they would at the counter. So I'm Jamie Walker, by the way, Chief Clerk. I didn't introduce myself.
So you asked me before and I just want to preface I have a date that I've held in my head that if I was going to support this, where that would be. And but I just want to say in response to some of the comments that I have 3 issues that I'm trying to give weight to. And one is the security and the safety of the election. That is the number one thing in my mind, that if we have areas of weakness that we want to tighten up and it's legal to do so, I think that's an important thing for me to bring forward. The second is cost. If we're going to do something that's not required, that the taxpayers, whether they be here or at Harrisburg, using your income tax for supporting this, I think that's a factor as well. And then the third is, and my mind is convenience. I really, we have someone that notified us that today is the anniversary of someone who was almost killed defending, these kind of things for our country. We have had many people die and be injured fighting for our right to vote. And so convenience is my last part of this thing. I think if you've taken the option of a mail ballot, you took the option of a mail ballot, not a drop box ballot. And if you don't trust the federal or the post office, then don't use that. And certainly the best way, I've been told, if somebody's disabled, I'm suppressing their vote. This form, those folks have help if they're disabled. They have help in many walks of life, in terms of getting to the doctor and this is twice a year that you're asked to vote. This is a form that person that has a neighbor or a friend that helps them with those other things can be delegated to take that vote in legally. And it's not a picadillo for somebody, as I've heard that word expressed, for somebody breaking the law, bringing in their spouses or other people in their households into the drop box. that's, that's a serious issue to me. There's a $2,500 fine per incident if someone would be caught doing that in the act of doing it and prosecuted by the DA's office. So those are the backgrounds of where I am in the balancing of all the issues. So where am I on the date? While I have some problems with the cost, if I look at that cost of the shed, I have to assume it's going to be good for 10 years. So it's not a $3,000 one time, it's going to be depreciated over 10 years. $300 a year, not terrible. But I still feel that with the grant money, as with all the grant money that we get here at the county, once it runs out, then we have to decide, are we going to use local tax money? Or are we going to forego that, whatever expense it is? As for my date, I'm willing to, if I'm looking at this, at the best that I can, going as far as I can, I'm at the 15th of the month of April, giving 7 full days of people to drive up and hand off their ballot. So I'm giving, 7 days, whether that's acceptable to my colleagues or not. That's where I am, if I'm going to be supported.
I guess I would like to make a statement, if that's all right. Okay. First of all, I think we're all here for the same reason. And I've heard some additional terms today I want to acknowledge because they're very important. We want fair, safe, equal, and secure elections. That is our goal. I want to support that. So we get down to what is fair, safe, equal, and secure. And to the best of my knowledge, when people are hired in voter registration, there is some thought given to making sure there's at least a minority in there. And the people using the drop box are 2-to-1 Republican over Democrat. We don't want people feeling that it's not fair and safe and secure and equal. So by having 1 Republican and 1 Democrat manning that drive-through at all times, we can ensure that there is a full set of eyes watching and making it that way. I wanted it to start the day after they were mailed, but Sean has some rationale to start the 25th if that was my goal, because that's the earliest they could be delivered. I would yield to the 25th. And our election workers, I wanted to also mention that when they're working the polls or that drive-through, before they drop anything and take it fully, even if they have their fingers on it, they should be asking, did you remember to sign and date your outer envelope? No, do you have a pen? Here you go, sir, and they make sure that's done before it's fully handed over to the person receiving, and then they drop it into whatever the lockbox is. So I think that's important that we ask them one final time, did you remember to sign and date your outer envelope? I don't like seeing people go to the effort to vote and then it's not counted. That's not democracy. We got to make it right. We got to help make sure everybody gets it and gets their vote counted. And I want to say that everyone who helps with the elections, whether you're a voter, someone working the polls, our staff here throughout the county, thank you for a job well done. I have every confidence in all of the work and effort that you put in testing the machines, the LNA, logistic and accuracy testing. I have every faith in the vote count, and we do a little bit of an audit afterwards to make sure that those votes are counted by the machines accurately. We do so much, but it's all under the leadership of our voter registrar. So thank you all. You need to be able to depend on your staff and others who volunteer with the elections. It's a great partnership. How long has this county been voting? We're coming up on 250 years for the nation in just a few short years. So, I mean, I wasn't around 100 years ago, 200 years ago, but we've always taken pride. People fight for our country. They die for our country, for our right to vote. This is fundamentally a duty of county commissioners. I don't want to lose that. I want to keep the people's confidence and trust. So let's continue and make it as safe as we can and eliminate people challenging anything, because we have an equal representation accepting those ballots. And that is a prerequisite when you go to a poll, that we have minority and majority. Thank you.
I just want to clarify. Do you get before you accept somebody as a volunteer, do you get their voter register, how they're registered to vote? Okay, I mean, I didn't think so. I didn't think there was, yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sean and I have conversations now and then as department heads. One conversation that we had very recently was, we have open positions in our office. Our comment to each other was, do you even know their party affiliation when you hire?
No,
I don't,
no.
he doesn't. Out of my 18
It's so
employees,
inappropriate.
unless they specifically tell me what their party is, I don't know and I don't care. And Sean is the exact same way. So that comment about him hiring based on party, that is inaccurate, because I'm.
And the volunteers that are accepting ballots and counting ballots. I mean, that's just.
We cannot have, we have 60 precincts. We cannot have one precinct unless we have minority inspectors, we need a minority represented.
So may I? I don't want to, I don't know when it's appropriate for me to jump in. I think you bring up an incredibly good point. Be very careful that, like, in my office, I will not check
I
for
just
hiring
know
purposes. That's.
Past election officials in your position have always made sure there was at least one minority.
So at the polling place, we do a minority inspector, and you're getting into the weeds there with some great election trivia. And the principle being that we should try to staff minority party not for the countywide, but for that precinct, with the minority party for that precinct. The check and balance of that system is elegant. It's beautifully designed. In real world practicality at the polling place, it's difficult to do. We elect people into those positions, and if someone's elected in a position that's of the other party, I can't stop it. That's what they're elected into. And the vast majority of those positions are filled by elected people. So when we do have someone that is appointed, we would like to say, but is this for the minority majority? Often it's just a clerk that then they get shuffled around and we lose control of that at the polling level. But the goal is always to try to have a Republican Democrat as clerks in those roles. Sometimes in all counties, it's very difficult to actually staff that.
But in your office.
But in my office.
And the volunteers that actually process the votes after they're cast, you do not screen them for.
No, and in fact, I'd say we take it one step further. If we hear partisan talk, we stamp it out right away, or
That's what I
dismiss,
thought.
or dismiss people. As you may remember from a few elections ago, we had to let some people go. They couldn't draw the line. So
Well, there was
Many people have made comments about just our even discussion about this whole thing is insinuating that there has been fraud. I think this suggestion that we have two people is also insinuating that there may have been, partisan activities going on, and I don't think that's the case. So
No, it's preventing that.
What we said last month, that Sean, his staff, the volunteers, the poll workers, we have great faith that they're doing a good job, and we have a lot of integrity. This whole thing was about taking a Dropbox that was out there, that can we make this better? And I think we have a proposal that is better from a security standpoint, but also convenience standpoint.
I'm treating, to use some language from the last meeting, I'm treating the staffing at this location as an extension of the office. So while in the polling locations, we do our best to try to balance party concerns between the two sides. In an extension of our office, I'm not asking. I don't want to know. I want to know I have somebody with some integrity who will show up on time.
May I ask a question
Mhm.
to my colleagues? If indeed 2-1 Democrats were using the drop box or the drive-through over the Republicans, would you have the same opinion?
Relevant.
I'd never even entered my mind as an issue. So no, I don't want to create an issue out of
It's not
something.
about party, it's about security, and it's about convenience.
But it's also their
The cost
polling
factor.
location.
I'm sorry, your hands are up, but this is not the time for public comment. We'll allow some later, but we want to finish this discussion and see if we have anybody that wants to make a specific motion.
Well, I'd make a
Any
motion.
question or cost and date.
I'd make a motion to purchase the local shed with glass all the way around and a locking door so we can store some basic forms and chairs, et cetera, not having to carry them in and out all day. If we're going to do this, as well as staffing, be 2 people from differing parties. It could be independent or anything like that, but at least 2 people at all times from different parties. And that it start on, based on Sean's calculation, the 25th of March. And that is my motion.
Well, I'll second the motion just for the sake of, I disagree with a couple of parts of it, but I'll second it for the sake of discussion.
Okay, we have motion is second on the floor, so you have comment?
No, I guess I'm just perplexed as to that, having 2 people and having them identified as separate parties. I think if this thing does go through and it's back to the 25th, I don't see how you're going to be able to pull it off and comply with the motion. Not only do I think it's unnecessary, but I think it's not even logistically possible. You're going to have enough trouble finding people to man the hours that you're already calling for. So those are just a couple observations. And of course, my date is not that far back. It's 7 voter days out from election day.
No, Commissioner Phillips, you could both staff it together at the same time.
I would
And,
gladly
it's
volunteer.
6 by 8, there'd be lots of room there.
I will gladly volunteer.
I don't think that, that's the remedy.
Discussion on that and
Just a point of clarification. So are the
Press versus.
please identify yourself.
Laura LeBeau, Seven Mountains Media, WLBR and Froggy Valley Radio, are the workers, however many there will be, are they going to be sitting in the shed, or I heard you say there's like an awning or something? Are they sitting out to be seen?
They'll be in the shed just to be out of the elements. I frankly don't care if they set the chair up right outside the door or it's right inside.
And is there some sort of awning?
There is an awning, yes.
Okay, and is the shed going to be a permanent structure, or after election, is it going to be moved someplace for storage until the next?
Our maintenance department says that the design of the shed could be lifted by one of our tractors on forks and relocated if we wanted to reclaim those 2 or 3 parking spaces, because it's going to cover about 2 parking spaces. When the cars are lined up to use it, it'll be a lot more, but the physical structure will be just like 1 1/3 or 1 1/2 of a parking space. So the plan right now is to move it somewhere else, when the election's over.
And finally, I know you said on election day, it would be open until 8.
Mhm.
Would it open at 7 on election day, because that's when the polls open?
That would be what I would hope, but we could set it. Yeah, I think that'd be part of the plan, like to match whatever the polls are that day.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Question?
Excuse me, Jim Menson with Town. Sean, you said DI. Is that,
EIGP.
is that election integrity money?
Mhm.
How much money does Lebanon County currently have in that fund?
About 450,000 approximately. at the start of the year. We are dipping into it with some of our investments right now. I don't have a number of the remainder off the top of my head.
But public comment, these are the media, just think about why you're talking.
Yeah. So. Or we'll allow.
No, I'm saying that if it- I would wait till,
Yeah, just so you know, the questions we always entertain from the media at this point, Matt, do you have something else?
Yeah, Matt Toth, with Lebanon Daily News. You said that you're going to have the collection, be physically in that shed, but have you worked out the logistics of when you're going to be collecting those ballots and the security about bringing them from those shed up to the election office here?
I don't overthink it. With the Dropbox, we collected twice a day. It would be me or maybe that would walk down there and just collect the ballots. Everything's locked up. We'd unlock it, take out the ballot, put them in a tray or box, carry them up to our office, and put them in the vault. But same thing we were always doing.
call for the question.
Call for the question, unless there are any other comments, questions from the board. So the motion on the floor is to approve the purchase of this shed as proposed by Sean at the price of $2,725. And staff it with two people of differing parties and all the other details as situated, and a start date of March 25th. All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. So we didn't get that one approved, but I'm hopeful that we did say that you might.
Well, the only way that I would consider it is without the stipulation of having two parties represented at the car. And also, that we would begin on March 15th, April 15th, it's a Monday, and go to, April 23rd and be open all the hours that the voting, is open on election day. Monday, April 15th. So it's 7 voting days ahead. So, and Sean, would you just give a moment on the tracking? That's a lot. When people are putting mail back and forth, we rely on mail very, dominantly in our lives. But this is even a step beyond that, because you can track every piece of mail and know where it is at any given time. Is that correct?
Right. It's not as perfect as you might expect with tracking packages, unfortunately. To do so would be cost prohibitive. However, there is tracking. We are using postal tracking. So if you were to call me and say, where I asked for it 2 weeks ago, we first confirmed that it went out from our office, and then I get into the postal system and I can see where it is. If it's up at Copper Hill Distribution Center, or if it's in Lebanon somewhere, and the tracking at that level for the USPS at that price point is not very precise, but it is something that we can do. It's comforting to know that I can log in for a voter and say, look, here's the exact day that it went out. Here's the exact day it was at the distribution center. Here's the exact day it hit the local postal service.
And they get an email once we get it in. Is that correct? If it's a mail ballot, if we have their mail address.
When we receive it back?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I want you to think about what you've just proposed. If they only open that drive-through, was it April 15th?
7 days, 7 voting days.
7 days.
7 voting days. Yeah.
And Sean, how many mail-in ballots do we anticipate? 12,000?
Yeah, we're starting to trend down. We were expecting at least 12,000, but based on the trend that they're coming back at right now, we're maybe more like 10.
10,000, okay.
We'll see if things pick up.
Okay, that makes the math really easy with a round number.
Yeah.
But if you figure 7 days, 10,000 mail-in ballots, and people choose to use the drop box, do you realize that's over 1,000 a day?
That's assuming nobody uses the mail.
That's about 20.
Right. We say about 2,500 will be coming in. I anticipate about 2,500.
2,500,
Yeah.
okay. So that would be approximately 400 ballots a day getting dropped off. Okay? We need to have that number. And people don't normally, Sean has said they drop off that last week. That's not when they use the drop box. They use it further towards when they're mailed out.
Well, then they have, well, I'm not going to debate that, but if you want to put forth another motion, I have not put forth a motion. I just gave an opinion on a date that I found that was acceptable to me. But if you want to modify your motion, give it a whirl.
Did we vote on my
You
motion?
don't have a motion on the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yours died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will use that. I mean, if I'm going to support this, I need 2 people at the drive-through. I need it to start on the suggested date by Sean, which I think was the 25th of
I was the first.
the first.
Yeah.
No,
March 25th.
March 25th, the first day that they could be mailed
Oh, I see. Wait.
and coming back. Yeah.
It's the same motion. It is.
No, it's not the same motion.
Go ahead. That's what you, that's what.
Yeah, that's what
That's what you proposed last, that's what you proposed the last time,
Yeah.
25th.
2 people and March 25th.
Yes.
What do you-
And then open the same hours as the
So it's the same motion.
poll on election day.
Okay, well, I'm not going to second it because we just voted it down.
Already.
I think that there is some. What is different is that
Order, please. We have a discussion ongoing here.
yes. Restate your motion.
I didn't make a motion.
did.
Okay, you didn't make the motion, you just expressed your
Yes,
opinion.
yeah, what my dates were.
Okay, your date. I think that the date is important. I think we need 2 people. And again, it goes to what happens on the election day when you go into a polling precinct. And it should mimic that. It really should. If we want people to have faith in our elections, that they're fair and equal and secure, we need to do that. So I ask you to incorporate all of those things and make sure that we do this right.
So this is basically the same motion that you set forth that I seconded for discussion. We voted on it. It was voted down and now you're presenting it again for a second round?
I don't think I can present the exact same motion. I don't
I
think
would-
that's allowed.
I mean, why would you? But, but my question is if you want to modify the date or something, modify it, try to get something that will pass if that's your goal.
And I'm trying to help everyone get to the point where they realize that it's important to treat this like when you go to our precincts, because people are actually voting.
Sounds like we don't have a motion, so this is not gonna happen.
Unless you would like to
Well,
propose an alternative.
you're not willing to compromise on either the date or the 2 people.
The date,
Okay, just say yes or no.
no,
Okay,
those are my conditions to support this.
okay, and mine are, I'm not going to make a motion. Because of the cost and fact that, 7 days out isn't acceptable to you, so.
May I present a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to,
You have a guy, he's got to say that. You just want to tell him that I don't know what we're not accepting.
hold, yeah, hold just.
I thought there was some in, after the proposal before the vote. I'd like to ask the citizen that has to be honored, please.
So, trying to get go back to the original date, you said it was April 15th, Monday, April 15th. I'd like to propose a motion that we follow through with Sean's recommendation as presented here with the stipulation that it be staffed April 1st by a representative of the voter registration office as designated by Mr. Thrasher at the cost outlined in this proposal. We have a second.
Is it April 1st?
April 15th.
But what was April 1st?
You
said April.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I said that. I said it was the date that
He recommended April 1st.
I said that way back when during this discussion, but April 15th was the date I heard you say you were be able to live with.
That's not,
That's why I made the motion, okay? So it's on the 15th is what I'm making a motion. You got a second or not? Hearing no second?
I would like it to be amended for the 25th. March.
One person.
With two people.
With two people.
Yeah.
You're back to what you lost.
She can offer an amendment, but I don't second that. Do you?
You don't accept her amendment. I didn't get a second there.
Right.
Are you, so yeah, never mind. We already went through that. You're steadfast on two people and 25th, so we already voted on that one. All right, I'll second the motion that we go with the dates, everything else that John has put forth, but with the dates 15th, April 15th and the 23rd.
Person.
I had your chance to compromise it, but
I was compromising. I didn't say Republican and Democrat the last time. I said two people.
Just to clarify that it's 15th and on one person, again, that doesn't preclude having a second person. It doesn't preclude having a second person there, but the motion on the floor is.
The mic's up. We cannot hear you.
The motion on the floor is.
I didn't ask you to repeat what you said. Just turn them up so
They're antiquated.
Yes,
they
sir.
don't turn up.
The motion on the floor
Then
is.
stand up and talk louder, please.
Motion on the floor
Thank you.
is that we would establish this temporary structure as outlined by Director Drasher at the cost of $27.25 and staffing it with one person. Again, I've noted that wouldn't preclude having a second person, a volunteer or somebody else to cover it, but it's has to have one person there, obviously, and the start date would be Monday, April 15th. Are there any other comments or questions? Board.
When you said up to the amount that you said, that the cost, it's not the cost of the shed.
Yes,
Not the people.
$27.25, yes.
They're close,
Yes.
okay. Cost of the shed. I hear you saying volunteers can come in, but they should also be paid. I think that anyone who helps to staff that up to two people should be paid. And, with the date of April 25th, allowing a second person to volunteer and they also get paid.
If you'd like to, I have a motion on the floor. If you would like to offer an amendment, you may,
Okay.
but I would also suggest you could at some point in time, if you feel we have the capacity to have official people, you can raise that another time for us to add additional staffing at an additional cost.
Well, again, I will add a motion, an amendment to move that back to the 25th and allow a second person to be put there and they would get the stipend but it wouldn't be mandatory. But if you have a second person coming forward, that person can work there as well.
Are you really do now? I'm not interested except for that. So any other questions or comments?
Comment, quick fiscal note question. What is the cost of the 3 dates? Thank you.
I'm sorry, the cost of,
Staffing, March 25th, April 1st, April 15th. What's the relative cost?
$120 a day.
So 600, 1,200, 1,800.
Thank you.
Sure. That's assuming that we're not using courthouse staff for some of those days or commissioners or any of my staff. Just purely if we went strictly on community support.
any other last chance?
Please move it back to the 25th. That would be last ditch effort.
Got a motion on the floor for the 15th, that the cost outlined, call for the question, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed?
Aye.
So we have a plan in place and, Sean, get to work. So we'll
Gives me more time to get the show.
entertain, any additional public comment this time?
Logan Township, I'm a lifelong member of the County of Lebanon. My concern is communicate. You are moving from a walk-up drop box to a drive-up drop box. And
Excuse me, it's not a drive-up drop box. It's actually handing it to a person.
drive-up situation where you would hand off. My concern is that when you move to a drive-up situation, I just would like that you clarify to all county voters that this is not going to be a situation where a driver can drive up and bring along Happy's vote and Mammy's vote and Sissy's vote and Uncle Joe's vote, but only drive up by himself and hand over 4 ballots. Is that correct?
Not exactly.
Well, then you already were having a difference of opinion on how that.
Excuse me, this was one of the issues with the existing drop box, that
Right.
some people were bringing multiple ballots in, or could. We didn't have any way of validating that, but there was a possibility of that.
And
And this will be better. If they come up, we can explain to them that they can only provide their own, but.
If they bring them in the car with them.
Right, if the people are in the car with them, that's not a problem.
That's what I just said.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody may think now that they can drive up, carrying 4 ballots and leave 3 people at home. And I am saying you need to communicate because someone could possibly in the county
Sean, when
think
we
that
send
this is brand new.
You send a letter with instructions.
There are instructions, yeah, there's an
That'll be
instruction.
included.
Yeah, this is brand new.
The delegated agent would allow a person to drop a family member who is ill into the.
And that's what you need to clarify, lest there are different opinions out there of what a drive-up, drop-off venue is going to entertain. And we don't want to see one person driving from the north end of the county in rural Lebanon County into the city with 4 ballots all by himself, only to be told, sir, those other 3 ballots must be delivered by those folks. You cannot deliver it, or whatever it is you expect, that you must communicate. I don't want to write the rules. I'm just saying you need to let, and journalists are one way to do it, but you must let the public know exactly what is allowed and what is verboten, lest You have angry voters
This
on
is-
your hands.
This is no change from what we have if you walk it into their office.
That's not my problem. All I'm saying is whatever it is you expect,
Your concern.
you had better make it perfectly clear. If you are changing a mode here, people will also believe that other modus operandi are changing, and you are saying they are not. So you need to be clear exactly what you will accept at that kiosk and what you will not
I
accept.
assure you, ma'am, we will, do our best to educate, communicate.
Do that, and I hope that you get it done. Thank you very much for hearing my plea.
Sorry, I believe you were next.
Oh, yeah, I've only heard about drive-in, drive-up. Are you gonna stipulate in writing that you can walk up? I know it sounds picayune, but
Good question.
yeah.
It wouldn't preclude somebody from parking and walking up or walking from the neighborhood.
Right, exactly.
No problem.
I want to say I'm a little disappointed in the negotiations. I feel we had over here with two people, March 25th, and April 15th. It seems to me it would have been a really nice compromise to start early, and one person, April 1st, right in the middle, right in the middle. Very disappointed. I don't feel you're giving people enough time. I would like to ask you to do an amendment to do one person April 1st. At one point, you said April 1st, you were comfortable with that, Commissioner Coons. That would be more of a compromise. I don't feel you're giving enough time for people to get those votes, get the ballot that comes in and like more immediately get it in. I would like to see an amendment and be more of a compromise. I think that's fair.
I'll make the amendment motion for the April 1st. It was the 15th, it's not.
Action. Sure, Robert's rules help me out.
Jamie?
How does that work? The motion's approved.
The motion's
approved.
Make an amendment.
No, it's done.
No, that's,
Subject to.
take an amendment to a motion's already,
Next assumption is you could put forth another motion.
right, yeah.
Can we do another motion?
I'll make a motion for April the 1st then.
Second,
Is that with everything else
With
being,
one person.
one person.
with everything else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To get this back to April 1st, it is the only thing I'm proposing at this time. I would like to have another discussion on the staffing later.
For the purpose of discussion, I will second the motion.
Motion on the floor to go forward with the proposal as presented by Sean, with one person staffing it, beginning on April 1st. And later that we could revisit, whether we have additional staffing, but for right now, it's for the one person is designated by Sean in a second. Are there any questions or comments?
What's the new cost?
And, no cost for capital, for personnel would be $600 per week. So that would add $600. Are we moving back 1 week or two? It's not my calendar. I'm sorry.
That is two.
$1,200. You would add another $1,200.
Questions or comments?
If they're staff, they're already being paid.
Right.
So it's not really going to be additional cost.
That's correct. If we were adding strictly community
But if we do recruit, then they get the stipend.
And my only other comment would be that my dates were based on some of the responsibility to be shared by the person that chose to go with mail ballot. And so that, yes, it's squeezing the opportunity for accommodating that, but I felt that they should also participate in either the cost part of it or just working on rescheduling to meet the new deadline. That's why I was pretty steadfast on the dates.
We have a motion for an April 1st start sheet. All for the question, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
So we have a new start date of April 1st. So I'll entertain one last chance, for public comment, sir.
I appreciate all your efforts. All of you are good people trying to do the right thing. And I'm Gary Gates from America. And I know you guys respect all three of you, even though we disagree a little bit. But the important thing is we all cooperate to have the best result. But what I would like to emphasize, when I was judge of elections, last election, there were threats of violence which surprised me because, and I mean by Republicans, because of your leader. And I was surprised because this is a Republican county, as you know, 2-1. And yet, several people I went down the list to ask to help refused because they felt threatened. And there were several people hovering at the door who were in fact a bit contentious, to put it mildly. And what I would like is that you address this issue of threats and violence by some of your top Republican leadership. And I think you know who I'm referring to, because he did in fact incite violence and destroy our traditional peaceful transfer of power. And this trickles down to people. And I think it's endemic upon you to ensure that there will be no violence. You do need security here, which you need. And I would like a statement from all three of you that you will stand by the results of the election and that you will not tolerate any sort of violence. If you saw Trump the other day, he swept Super Tuesday, and you know what? He comes on the news and attacks the results of Vermont because he lost Vermont and he can't stand that. Any kind of problem, he will attack it. He will incite violence. He did it before. He'll get away with it again. And it's very important that you guys issue a statement that you will not tolerate any sort of violence, especially in regard to the integrity of our elections. I know you're trying to do the best you can, but reify it by saying that you will stand by the results of the election. Could you issue a statement saying that you will stand by the results,
Okay.
regardless of what they are?
I think our director would like to make a comment.
Mr. Gates, Gary.
No.
I have to let you know that as you probably can, I talk to my colleagues in other counties literally every day. I know what some counties are going through. There are counties that I don't know how they go into work some days. The relationships and the conflicts that they have centered around some of this particular controversy. Lebanon County is not one of those counties. Here in the courthouse, the commissioners have been incredibly supportive of me behind the scenes. I mean, incredibly supportive behind the scenes. The staff here in the courthouse have been incredibly supportive behind the scenes. I thank my lucky stars when I hear the stories from other counties and some of the horror stories I hear. That is not the case here. We are a well supported and friendly working environment here. So I'm very sorry to hear that you had conflict of polls, especially in the municipal. That's going to happen. I don't say it's okay. It's not. But sometimes neighbor against neighbor is uglier than anything else. But here for a working environment, I just want you to know that it's a good situation here. I can't.
We want to keep it that way. Sean, excuse me, but
I just have one thing. My response is simply, I'm offended by people asking me to make a statement after my years in this county of public service, that they will think I will do anything but the best that I can do and do the right thing every day. That's my, I don't go thinking it politically. That's not my first thought, nor is it my last. My thought is I want to do the best I can for the majority of my constituents. And I will not, bow to that request that I do to make a statement that I'm going to do the right thing. That's assumed in my life. I understand.
You to stand by the results of the next election,
That's-
no matter what they are.
And that's to do the right thing, so.
Certified.
Thank you. Commissioner,
Yeah,
You just want on TV.
we do sign a statement when we are working an election that we have to do everything right. But I share your concern about the safety of the people at the drive-through. And that is one of the reasons I thought it should be similar to what's going on at a poll. By having at least 2 people there at all times, there's safety in numbers. I'm going to hopefully ask for the allowance of a second person to work if they come forward. Again, to the issue of safety. So I would make a motion to add a second person if somebody comes forward that is from the county and meets all the qualifications.
Motion on the floor. Do you have a second? Second. This time, yeah. So, we'll move on again in response to Mr. Gates. We can talk, words are cheap, but I think the action that we just took today is a good demonstration that we listened to all these voices and I think we came up with a reasonable compromise solution. Accounting for all that and trying to do the right thing. So I think our action speaks louder than any words we can speak. So I'll let that speak for itself. I think most reasonable people would agree. If you don't, I don't know that you're a reasonable person.
I wasn't attacking you.
I'm not taking it personally. I'm just responding. That I don't think it's fair. I think this is
Think
more.
what happened before, and if it trickles down, it could be bad news.
It's a big if.
So, any additional public comments at this time? Sir?
I think that what you're proposing to do, will be very effective. What you've in essence done is create a super precinct that covers the entire county. Because you're inviting people from every single voting precinct to use this spot as their polling place. People that go to their polls to vote at their own precinct have one day to do it. No matter when they got their when they saw a ballot or not, they have one day to do it. So giving as much time as you gracefully did is more than making it easy. It's more than making it easy. They can go anytime during that period, any hour you're open and cast their ballot without having to drive to their precinct. You gotta come here, but if it's closer, that's fine. But you've actually created a super precinct and it should be run just like a regular local precinct. You should have somebody, you should have a judge of elections. You should have that same thing going on there. So I agree that it should be staffed by at least 2 people. And whether they're from different parties or not is, I don't know, that's questionable whether you can accomplish that without privacy invasion. But you should treat it like a precinct and it deserves the attention and probably, I don't know if it's legal or possible to have at our precinct, the constable comes there, stays there, doesn't present any problems, but he ensures some security. But there's some issues there that I think if you're going to do this, you should treat it like you treat a precinct.
In the interest of time, we still have some issues to address on our commissioner, so we'll entertain, but please keep them brief. Introduce yourself.
Edward W. Lynch Jr., City of Lebanon. Just a couple quick comments. I strongly disagree with drop-in ballot voting, drive-in voting. Nowhere in Act 77, which enabled mail-in ballot voting, does it indicate drive-in voting, drop-box voting. It specifically states mail-in ballot. And for those individuals who indicate people who are disabled or physically unable to vote, there has been an avenue for them to vote. It's called absentee ballot. And that is specifically indicated on the Pennsylvania Department of State's website. The motion's passed, so let's move on. Couple of things I'd like for the commissioners to consider. In 2020, we had 27,000 people vote by mail-in ballot in the fall. If these procedures are going to be in place for the fall, logistically, it could create a nightmare out there that needs to be considered. And also, if the effective date is April 1st, and hypothetically, I receive a mail-in ballot, which I won't, but if I did receive a mail-in ballot on March 27th, but I can't vote by drive-through until April 1st, could that not create a conflict?
No.
Or let me rephrase that. Is that not, I'm not asking, ma'am. You had an opportunity to speak. I'm speaking now. Thank you. Would that not violate someone's equal protection clause? Something to think about. Thank you.
Florida. Here, Florida. So. And
My name is Thea Jones, and I'm just very disappointed because Ms. Litch, you mentioned that for what, couple hundred years, or I don't know how long we've been voting as a country. Never has any of that occurred. The only reason that drop boxes or anything like that occurred was because we were in a pandemic situation. Is that not correct? Okay, I don't remember, I never recall any of that. The only way I feel confident that my vote will be counted is hand counted paper ballots with a voter ID. Countries have done this. Within a 4-month period, countries have moved to do this. Why cannot little Lebanon County, Pennsylvania do this and have everybody feel confident in the elections? It's very sad. I wish it could be scrapped. It's a mess. It was a confusing mess this whole day. Anyway, it could be very simplified.
If I could, Mike, just a quick question. This new facility obviously is being treated as an extension of the office, and I can appreciate that. Joellen just mentioned the idea that people could be coming in with the affidavit forms. Is there something as a recipient or a member of the election office that has to be filled in or confirmed on that affidavit form that there needs to be additional training for any volunteers we can be considered?
I don't understand.
If I were to show up with the affidavit to drop off a ballot, do you need to somehow fill out or mark that affidavit when I present it to you? And is that additional training that would need provided by volunteers or non-officers?
Staffers will be trained on everything.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because if you're pulling in people that are working at the polls, it's potentially a different procedure than people that would be. So I just want to make sure that training would need to be addressed, if any.
And to add on something that we came up during our discussions about this, if somebody pulls up and they have a question, they're trying to change their voter registration or whatever, that this is the only thing that's going to be sent for is drop off a ballot, one person. And if there are 3 people in the car, they can each drop theirs off. Ma'am.
I just wanted to say thank you for the spirit of compromise. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Amy Weisstrom, League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania. I just wanted to follow up and clarify that this is an extension of the office. It's not a super precinct. It's not a precinct. And the Bureau of Elections and Registration will be staffing it, right? So we can think about it as an extension of the office, and all of the rules and procedures that apply at the office that we're very comfortable with will apply in this case, correct? Correct. Thank you.
As I kicked it off earlier this morning, reminding us all about Selma, Alabama on this day, March 2nd. Many of us, well, actually me, but many of us in this room actually were alive during that time to remind us that it was not that long ago. So there's youth in that for everyone. And to say that I'm appreciative of the way that you all have cooperated today to bring along a resolution. It wasn't everything anyone always wanted, right? We're not going to get everything we want. We believe in the compromise that happened here today. And as someone who is representing folks who could not be here today because they're working, and I have an agency to do that for them, I thank you for your work today and commemorating this date. And I'll say that as an organization that's trying to harness to get 2.1 million Pennsylvanians who are eligible to vote and not registered in this moment, this is the type of thing they need to see so they know our government is working. This is what keeps folks out of politics and out of being registered to vote and out of voting, is that they don't see this in action. And so organizations like ours take this back to the people on the ground so they can see this, because they won't watch this on the news, they won't hear it on the radio. Let's put it up on TikTok. So I want to thank you all for your work here today and this compromise to help make the access to the ballot more accessible for all. So thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, stand adjourned and we'll.
Okay, we will now resume. Oh, wait a moment till,
So the question is, what do you?
and we have Attorney Brightbill, excuse me. Attorney Brian Diedrich here with us. Sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm present on behalf of the Lebanon County District Attorney's Office, seeking approval of our 2024-2025 budget under the VOCA grant. The period of funding is October 1, 2024 to September 30, 2025. And it is noted that the VOCA grant does cover direct services for victims and witnesses of crime. The amount allocated for Lebanon County for this period is a total of $117,318. That is a 5% decrease over funding year one of the budget. For reference, that budget year was $123,493. The following areas are contained within the budget to be submitted for final approval by PCCD. Personnel, the total amount is $75,866.45. Beth Hoke, a victim witness, her position is funded for 17.5 hours per week, representing 50% of her hours. Kathy Burke is funded for 15 hours per week, representing 42.86% of her hours. And Tasha Lurch is funded for 5 hours per week, representing 14.29% of her hours. There is also funding for an on-call advocate that is for non-business hours. The union contract provides pay in the amount of $350 per week for on-call services. Additionally, there's a supplemental holiday pay of $50 per holiday. There's also overtime budgeted. A small amount of overtime pay has been budgeted for each advocate. The amount budgeted is 1/2 hour per week for each of the 3 advocates previously listed. This is used in situations which require a victim witness services outside of normal business hours. Benefits are projected to be a total of $35,072.96. These numbers were calculated at a projected total benefit cost of $38,384, which represents a 9.2% increase. At the time that we are putting this together and when it needs to be submitted to PCCD, we do expect that HR will have a revision of those numbers that will then require an adjustment. Ms. Hope's medical insurance costs will be covered at 47% through the grant, Ms. Burke's at 40% through the grant, and Ms. Lurch at 4% through the grant.
Excuse me,
Yes,
is that correct? At 4%, not 40?
that for whom? I'm sorry, for Ms. Lurch?
Yes.
That is correct,
Okay.
4%.
Just,
And that's a reflection based upon the hours worked.
okay.
So it mathematically carries through.
Thank you.
Travel, including training, that this has seen a decrease from previous budget numbers, reducing it down to $468. Advocates are required to undertake training annually through PCCD. Post-COVID, we are in a world that is more virtual training than in-person training for the most part. So there's been a reduction there. Additionally, the reduction is as a result of many of the trainings that are in fact in person are actually providing lodging as well as meals. So the subsistence portion of the budget then goes away. Supplies, as the commissioners are well aware, everything seems to cost more these days. That is why there has been an increase there from previous years. Total supplies budget is $5,866. Case management is a new system, which is $485 per license. There will be 3 licenses for a total expenditure of $1,455. Additional licenses will be funded through a separate grant through Rasa Vojo. The copier, there is a slight increase in monthly costs to $60 per month. It was previously $50. 40% of the total sum will be paid from the VOCA grant, resulting in a $288 share. A mobile hotspot, this is contractual, $80 per month. This is utilized for victims and witnesses as they are in the office. Oftentimes in dealing with the case in preparation, folks utilize their phones, they have contact information, etc. The use of the mobile hotspot is for them to connect to the internet and utilize that. There is an on-call cell phone. This again is a contractual cost. It's used by the on-call victim witness advocate. Cost is $85 per month and is funded solely from the VOCA grant. Total cost of $1,020 per year. On-call phone accessories. This is an additional item or items necessary to maintain the cellular phone, whether it's a new charger, whether it's a new case. That item budget is $50. And then miscellaneous supplies. Money being set aside for miscellaneous supplies. This covers a wider range of items that are necessary to provide services. This includes, just anything that a victim could require is budgeted. The total amount there is budgeted for $2,713. The total amount projected, which I've provided to the commissioners, is $117,273.41. There is $44.59, which is missing. As it is submitted to PCCD, it will be included in the line item for miscellaneous supplies. Understanding that this is an initial projected budget, we have the opportunity quarterly, we review and submit reports to PCCD as the main funder. That then allows us to, as necessary, move items from line to line as appropriate. So with the $117,273.41 of $44.59, that hits us right on the nail at $117,318, which is the amount provided by PCCD.
Okay, well, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the VOCA budget for this funding period at $117,318. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, First Assistant District Attorney.
No problem. Have a good day.
No more slips. Try to explain that one.
All right, gentlemen, whoever's going to start, please introduce your colleagues and then we may proceed.
We have Bob Dowd, Director of Emergency Services. I have with me Gary Verna, Deputy Director of Emergency Management, and Chief Otts with the Special Operations. We have 2 agenda items that we're checking off. So the first is a change order for the building. The change order amount is $33,015. The majority of that change order is for the temporary heat and dehumidification that we've been using to maintain the building while waiting for permanent. Several credits on here for stock that was not necessary after the construction. And there was an $8,758 piece that we had to meet some engineering requirements by a testing company for the helipad subgrade overweight, and that's it. So I'm asking commissioners to approve change order number 12 with general contractor for $33,015.
And it says 33,297, so that will be corrected, or am I reading it wrong?
Do that real quick. Okay. There's a typo somewhere there.
While he's doing that real quickly, the, as noted in here, the temporary heat and dehumidification was as it's noted here, was a negotiated fair share cost. So it was split up a bit among contractors since it was a delayed item. But contractors, I will say, in my observation, have been very accommodating fare through all that. Everyone's waiting, you know. They have to remobilize in some cases and all of this cost to that. And sometimes those can get a little touch and go, but to date, we've had a very good relationship with all of them.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'm still pleased with it despite the delay.
They've been really good to work with. I think they treat us fairly, with the actions in the school, we've treated them fairly as well. The correct amount is 33,015, so the other document will get updated.
That has to be correct. You need a motion, or did we do that?
You have. I think you have it. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
So Joella made the motion, Mike seconded it. It's 33015.
Correct.
Okay, that's the number. And just before I vote, is the max 2 million? That allowance for in your head?
We've, not including this change order, we
It's 700.
just over $800,000 to date out of 1.47.
Oh, okay. All right. And we're getting close to the end of what should be.
We are, we're still expecting some electrical stuff to come in.
All right, we're still good.
Do you have an idea of a projected occupation date?
With any luck, we'll have a certificate, at least a temporary certificate of occupancy this month. 911, no, we won't be able to move that in until probably over the summer. So there's a lot that goes into
Making progress.
We are making progress, and my hope is that at some point very soon, we'll be able to move administrative staff.
Okay, good. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign, so moved. Second item.
Steve.
Afternoon, Commissioners. For you, we have the application submission for our recertification for the hazmat side of the Special Operations House. It's a 4-year certification. You know, it is coming up. It's a process to get the ball rolling, so it will need your endorsement so we can send it to PEMA.
Make a motion to approve this as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign, so moved. Barry, anything for the good? Okay, thank you.
Looks.
Other than best friends. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Julie is here.
Julie, were you there all that time?
No.
Just kidding.
No, Jamie was kind enough to text me when
Good. All right.
when we were ready to proceed.
Okay.
Everybody thinks I'm just here on my phone with social media. I'm actually managing outside, you know.
Ordering lunch.
Yeah, right.
Playing Tetris?
So if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then you.
Julie Cheney, Lebanon County Planning Department. I am here as a follow-up to our workshop last week on the county comprehensive plan update. As discussed in that workshop, we are looking to do a grant through DCED, their municipal assistance program. The resolution before you today is part of the application process. And the amount of $88,500 would represent the half of the cash match that the county would be responsible for. As discussed, some of that money will be in-kind services, and I'm in the process of working some of those numbers out with Cherie Prentice Brown with the GIS department. And it's looking pretty favorable that I think we could probably get around $35,000 of in-kind services. So
great.
We're still working on those numbers, but that's in the ballpark of what we would be looking at.
Entertain motion.
Make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan resolution with a maximum of $88,500.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Like,
What is the timeline for hearing back from them for award? It's an ongoing open.
No, they have a
Oh,
spring
that's
and a
right. That's why
fall.
we're here today.
So I'm looking to get the application in by tomorrow, which would be the deadline for the spring application.
Right.
with my contact with DCED, she indicated that they would be looking at an April or May timeframe.
Okay.
For award. However, she had the caveat of that sometimes that process gets mixed in with the budget process, and if that goes or is delayed,
Okay.
we might have a delay.
And
on
then
that.
do we have 2 years to use the grant funds? Is that?
It would be technically 3 years, but if the award is in the spring, it starts in 20. This is 20, well, it's actually,
Okay.
because the fiscal year is still 23, it would be 23 through 26.
Okay.
Still well within our time frame of adopting an update to that comprehensive plan.
Nothing else, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sorry for the delay.
Oh, no, not at all.
All right. Jamie, I think,
First item I have is a hotel tax grant request from Lebanon County Historical Society for the 34th Annual Union Canal Days, to be held at the Union Canal Tunnel Park in North Lebanon Township. The request of the grant is $1,250 with a budget attached, as well as a project description and a little overview of commemoration of the tunnel's 30th anniversary.
Make a motion to approve that request, $12.50.
Second,
it's been moved and seconded, and I'm just going to reiterate my request that we meet, maybe when we do a Marcellus Shell money, that we have it at a workshop or something, or, if that's a public time, that we consider rewording the guidelines for the hotel tax money.
Okay, you did change the amount.
Right,
So,
but,
okay,
and this is nothing on, it's meant to put heads in beds at hotels to, rejuvenate the fund. So, I'm not against anything about the Historical Society, but I just, and because of the vagueness of the application now, I'm okay with it, but I think we need to tighten it up because the money is depleting faster than we have the money coming in. So we need to stress the events that would support people coming from outside to stay at hotels. End of speech. Anything else? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved.
item I have is disabled veteran exemptions, those meeting the requirements for disabled veteran tax exemption. Francis Thomas of Solar Drive, Lebanon, Linda Van Brunt of 15th Avenue, Lebanon, Denise Fessler Wolf, 607 Maple Street, Lebanon, Megan Pesta of Angle Road, Grantville, and Matthew Leedy of Center Street, Fredericksburg.
I'd like to point out that the first three are surviving spouses and they're also qualified. And I would make a motion to approve the 5 100% disabled veteran exemption that says presented otherwise.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve those property tax exemptions for those folks. Any questions regarding the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved.
Okay, next, Kenbrook Bible Camp has requested a letter of support from you for an application that they are submitting to the Pennsylvania Department of Economic and Community Development to secure funds for a pavilion project at Kenbrook Bible Camp. They are converting an outdoor pavilion into an all-season meeting space for school groups, co-ops, and community groups to use for gathering space. They're requesting approval on that letter support.
I'll make a motion to approve that request.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve a letter of support. Any questions regarding the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved.
Vacancy, Amy Leonard, who's been a longtime member of the Housing Authority, has been appointed now as the solicitor to the authority. Judge Longbrightville was the solicitor prior. Obviously, she could no longer serve in that capacity, moving as a judge. And so Amy Leonard is an attorney and is going from, again, board member to solicitor, thereby creating a vacancy to her position on the board. And the authority board is suggesting and recommending Holly Leahy, administrator of Lebanon County MHIDEI, to complete the remainder of that 5-year term, which expires in 2028.
Make a motion to approve Holly Leahy as the new appointment to the Housing Authority Board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we make that appointment. Any questions? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved.
And lastly, seeking approval for a proposal to conduct property appraisals of 336 and 340 South 8th Street. Proposals from Clay Realty Group for $575 per property. And if that if approved, I would expect to have something back in a couple of weeks.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the cost for those appraisals. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, so moved. That's it. Okay, nothing from the floor. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Before we vote, I do have a packet that I printed out from the Fort Indian Town Gap. We don't have someone coming every meeting, but there's a lot going out there, so that if anybody would like this is a packet for outlines the next month of activities.
You get them mailed to you, right? Email or not?
No, I don't.
Oh, don't you?
Okay, it's up for grabs or for additional copies. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.